This is the Rebel Call channel. Welcome to today's show. You only trend on YouTube if they want you to trend. And the easiest way to trend, of course, is by doing something satanic or, of course, being a part of this satanic coven that seems to control the entertainment industry. So we shouldn't be surprised when we see Motley Crue trending. Although you would think maybe people out there with common sense would say, how in the world in the year 2024, with only 669,000 views, and of course there's your 666, is Motley Crue trending on YouTube? Well, it's all done by design, and you'll see why, because this music video that is trending called Dogs of War is about waging war on Christians. So of course it's trending. And of course, as you can see in the background, it's filled with pentagrams. And I've covered Motley Crue in the past. I know it's not the most interesting topic for the younger people out there because, well, these are ancient old timers now who shouldn't even be playing music, but there are some important things that you need to know about Motley Crue before I reveal this absolutely blatantly obvious music video where you're going to see them even make mention to every single conspiracy as being linked to Christianity, which is what we see them trying to do in the mainstream now, including 5G, which is pretty incredible to think that if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're now being lumped into Christianity. And we know what this is headed towards with persecution that is coming. But let's start with the obvious, because you can see on the screen here, it's Dogs of War, right? That it's an avatar. This is what we're seeing musicians start to push their audience towards, is the metaverse and becoming digital avatars. Kiss just did this. I covered this months ago with their farewell tour, then going to become digital avatars. Now, this is extremely embarrassing, but of course, it's something they're trying to normalize. So at first, people are going to be taken aback, but it's going to become the new normal as they start getting the people to accept the mixing of the physical and the digital realms, which is really the physical and the spiritual realm. So in the past, I've covered Motley Crue. It's very obvious, right? Shout at the Devil, one of their songs. They use the upside down pentagram. Of course, pictures of them on album covers where they're wearing 666 blatantly right on their t-shirts. We've obviously seen the serpent used over and over again. Of course, nobody connects the dots between this specific logo and, of course, the medical industry and big pharma and Magica, because pharmaceutical is Magica, right? Nobody connects the dots. What do you think? Motley Crue's just a big fan of modern medicine. Of course, this stuff is always right in front of our faces. There's pictures of them, of course, standing in front of upside down pentagrams, blood smeared all over them. And before I reveal the video to you, I want to remind you, because I know a lot of people probably weren't around in 2019 when I covered this, but when their movie came out about The Dirt, or whatever it was called, the Netflix movie, the documentary called The Dirt, there was articles out there from Al Bowman, who was the limo driver for Motley Crue. And let me just read this to you. I can't show you the article on the screen because the trigger words in that article get picked up. But this is from an article about Motley Crue from their limo driver. He recalls taking various members to creepy ceremonies and rituals around LA. Al says bassist Nikki Sixx was particularly interested in the dark arts, and he once gave him a famous occultist, Anton LaVey, who founded the Church of Satan, a lift to a strange ceremony at a house behind the famous Whiskey A Go-Go nightclub in Hollywood. Quote, I remember them having an interest in satanic rituals, and I used to take them to these weird parties at an old mansion in Hollywood where there'd be people doing all kinds of creepy stuff. Nikki was very much into the black arts and Aleister Crowley, witchcraft and all that stuff. I drove him once with Anton LaVey, and they were doing weird chants. I had an intercom system, so if they put up the divider in the limo, I would just turn on the intercom and listen to everything that was going on. So I heard everything they were talking about. Then I dropped them at this strange house covered in ivy behind the Whiskey Go-Go bar. There was some weird ceremony there, and it was full of up-and-coming actresses, and they were into weird stuff. They were in circles, and there were candles and blood and horsehair and all kinds of weird stuff. At the time, I just thought, it's Hollywood. It's all a big horror show anyway. I said, you guys making a horror movie about witchcraft or something? But it seemed like serious business for them. Nikki would call on spiritual forces. I remember asking him, what's the deal with all this stuff? Are you trying to call on angels from heaven to guide the band? He said, no, I'm trying to conjure up demons from hell to guide the band. So I was like, so you're calling them up, not down. It was kind of funny. And the article goes on to talk about, obviously, sacrifice that was committed because the lead singer of Motley Crue, Vince Neil, got away with running somebody over and killing them out in the open. Kind of like we've seen with Caitlyn Jenner. We see them all. They get away with it. Matthew Broderick, another guy, a lot of these celebrities always linked to sacrifice, and then somehow they don't end up going to jail. How convenient, right? Because the rules don't apply to them. Kind of like what you're seeing right now with our current government, where we see rules for thee, not for me. So those are things I've covered with Motley Crue in the past. Let's look at this video, which again is a clear attack on Christianity. You see them flying in a plane, right? The plane's got devil horns. The plane's got the serpent on the side. It's got the pentagram in the back. And let me read to you some of the lyrics without using any of the curse words in there so you can understand how they're talking about waging war on Christians. They say, don't let them take the crown. Don't let those bleeps get you down. Don't let those beeps get you down. Black out the bright white noise. Stand up and we'll destroy. We don't love you anymore. A black wolf is standing, right? Referencing wolves in sheep's clothing, which is what all these people are. People out there think that these guys are just being artistic and creative, and it's just the same stuff over and over again, right? It's like you see Motley Crue, and you're like, well, it's just part of the gimmick, you know? It's part of the gimmick. That's how they play that kind of music, etc., right? Then you see all the stuff with pentagrams, 666, and everyone's like, oh, it just is. Oh, okay. Then you hear stories of their limo driver coming out talking about driving them to weird mansions in the middle of the night, how they were obsessed with Aleister Crowley and the black arts, and, covered in blood and all this other stuff, and people still go, oh, right, because they don't want to admit or believe that these people are actually literally mass murderers that they're worshiping, because that's what Satanists are, and that's why Satanists are an enemy to humanity. So, as the video goes on, okay, it starts off, you see levitation, right? And this, of course, you see his legs folded. This is Baphomet worship right here, right? There's a giant pentagram behind him. There's a pentagram on the floor. He's levitating, okay, just like the Baphomet. And then we get inside of the aircraft. You can see pentagrams all over the place. And I'm going to get to the part that's just really unbelievable, how in our faces this is with them lumping Christianity with conspiracy. But we see a car, right, with anarchy on the car. You see the heart symbol in the front, which I've covered, which really means Baal worship, the heart. Everyone out there thinks that the heart has something to do with the heart in your body and loving each other, okay? The Antichrist is the one coming in the name of love. It's an inverted Christianity here. People hear the word love and they automatically are like, well, Jesus was love. And they don't understand there's a difference between love and tolerance. But as the video goes on, you can see the mixture of transhumanism, again, which has everything to do with what's coming with the mark of the beast. You see pentagrams, you see red and white checkerboard floors, which means blood sacrifice. And then you get the Christians who are outside the church, right? Motley Crue is devil music. All this stuff is true, right? But they love to make light of it. And then everybody out there is just like, satanic panic, the devil music. They're just doing it to stir people up, right? Then you see the van that Motley Crue has, right? You can see right on the van, 666 right on the van. It even has Mark of the Beast written on the door of the van and repent. And then look at this, you get 5G kills. Now, what in the world does this have to do with Christianity? You see how they're lumping this thing without really telling people that they're making it seem like all the conspiracy nut jobs are Christians, when the simple fact is that anybody, no matter what their religion is, whatever their beliefs are, should understand the dangers of 5G. Because the government's even come out and told you that they don't know what the dangers are. And people go, they don't know what they are, so that doesn't mean that it's bad. They don't want to believe that this stuff is really happening. So they take everything out on people like us, instead of them taking the time to realize that there is an enemy in play here. There is somebody who's deceived the world, and his name is the devil. He's got people to believe in ultimately the biggest lies you could possibly imagine, like evolution, things that are laughable that people actually believe in. And these people, their brains and their perception of reality are so warped. They think that we're the ones, that are crazy. We're the ones that, they laugh at us and like they believe in an invisible guy in the sky, right? You believe we were derived from a big bang and monkeys? I mean, really? They really believe this stuff, right? Because, of course, they've used words like science, and then they don't seem to understand that they use this word science conveniently whenever they want to push an agenda, because now, of course, X and Y chromosomes, these things that are basic science, can men have babies, are no longer science, right? So right on, you can see the wolf standing there, death to Motley Crue. You can see right on the door, 5G kills, right? Couldn't be more obvious what they're trying to do here. God hates Motley Crue. And then if you look at the back of the van, you can even see, it says right on the back of the van, they have John chapter 5, verse 16. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. They have that written right on the back of the van. And look what's right underneath that. That specific day, okay, in September, from like 20 years ago, I can't say it, but I'll say with the space in between, the 11th day of the month of September, and it says equals inside job, right? Right below John 5:16, because of course we know who's responsible for that specific day, but we're not allowed to talk about it. Nobody's suspicious as to why we're not. They just have been trained like good little servants to say anybody who says that is a hateful, horrible person, to even think that that specific group of people could be involved, even though they're involved with all of it. They're doing it all, right? So John, let me just repeat here. You have John 5, chapter 5, verse 16. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. And right below it, you think it's just randomly there, right below it, about that being an inside job? It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible that this is out in the open like this, that people think that these people are trolling people like us who aren't even allowed to freely speak on platforms like this anymore. At least for a temporary period of time we can, but ultimately to reach the audience that we've always had, I've always had, and people like you have had on your social media platforms, well, we get suppressed and we get removed, right, for actually speaking this truth. But they can rub it into our faces because that's exactly what they're doing here, right? They're mocking Christians. You're only allowed to mock one belief, and that's Christianity. That's it. Other than that, it's hate speech. They're all protected. Everybody's protected for free speech except for us, right? This is clear mockery. They're literally telling you to wage war. It's called dogs of war. Okay? Who is the enemy in the video they're portraying? The enemy is us. The enemy is Christians, and they show us Christians standing outside with, looking like pigs, right? With pig heads on them. Oh, Motley Crue's the devil. And then every conspiracy you can think of, which is a fact and truth, is written on this van. I'm surprised the other big one isn't on there, but getting certain something inside your body. Maybe they just forgot to put that on there. Or maybe they didn't want the algorithm to get triggered by seeing that either. Right? So it goes on to show, welcome to hell. They show themselves in a padded room, which again, the majority of people out there who believe the stuff that these people are spewing, the lies that they're spewing, should be in a padded room at this point. But it's no coincidence that the padded room, you could see the honeycomb, right, on the walls, because these people are all of a hive mind. And what happens to these hive minders? They head down to the pit of hell. That's where they go. So welcome to hell. They show them all in straight jackets. You can see the honeycomb behind them. This is referencing, a hive mind, right? Because these people are all part of the hive mind. They won't question anything. They believe everything they're told, and they think that we're all crazy conspiracy nuts. And all we're trying to do is help them wake up. But ultimately, it's going to lead to their demise believing in people like this. And then they show them all getting led down into the pit of hell. And people out there, they hear this stuff and they laugh about it. They literally laugh about it. They're like, oh, good, send me to hell, right? Till you're there, till you realize you made a mistake, it'll be too late. And you won't, at that time, you won't be going, oh, I should have listened to so-and-so, because you're going to be in agony for eternity, okay? You're going to be tormented for eternity. So Motley Crue is only trending because this is what they're promoting. They're putting a video out that's mocking conspiracy theorists, linking conspiracy theorists with Christians, where they have all this stuff written on the van that's completely true, right? They're telling you who's responsible for that insider on that day of the 11th day of that month of September. I have to be careful how I say it. And what else are they telling you? They're telling you the 5G kills you. It's a fact. It's a fact of life that's what's happening to people. Their mental health on top of all the other things going on, the exposure to radiation, right? They show you the transhumanism mixed in with the video, pentagram at every corner in the video, right? Even mocking the mark of the beast openly on that van as they lead people into the pit of hell. This is only trending by design. That's where people really should start when they're trying to just think freely. Why in the world in 2024 would a band from the 80s be trending on YouTube? Nobody's looking it up. Okay, you want to tell me it's trending, it's viral, but oh, is it? It only has 669,000 views. Okay, that's not what you call viral. Viral would be in the millions. It tells you that they're trying to make it viral. They want you to see the video. That's why they put it in the trending section. It's supposed to work the other way, right? I've had videos in the past that have gotten millions of views. Never was in the trending section. I wouldn't expect it ever to be. But that's a little old YouTuber like me. This is a big old band. They only have 669,000. Here's your 666 views. And we're supposed to believe that that means that it should be in a trending section. They put it in the trending section. This is a way that they program people. People click on stuff in the trending section. They see it. They're using avatars, so they're not seeing the old versions of these people. So young kids out there have no idea who Motley Crue even is, and they'll probably see it because they're using avatars. They're like, oh, this is cool, this is neat. And ultimately, they're conditioning their older audience into accepting the mixing of the virtual realm and the physical realm, which is the spiritual realm, the digital realm. That's what we're seeing. That's what Kiss is doing. You're going to see the Rolling Stones do it next. You're going to see all these older bands do it. You see some of the younger bands do some of this stuff where they're mixing themselves into the metaverse, but you're going to see these older audiences as well, because they're going to condition their older audience into, well, Kiss is going to live forever. And everyone's like, okay, Kiss is going to live forever. Not that anybody could even name 2 Kiss songs or gives a crap about Kiss. I mean, their concerts, you see them performing, you're like, I can't even believe they're still trying to show up out there. They get nobody in attendance. Same with Motley Crue. Nobody cares about these people. They're trying to make you care because they're conditioning you, right? And the ultimate message and theme of the video is what? Who's the enemy to humanity? Christians. And what do Christians believe in? All these crazy truths that they want you to think is complete lunacy. Then you look at Motley Crue and people go, Motley Crue's just putting on a show. They always use the pentagram. They've always shouted at the devil. Oh, yeah? And then you hear all these stories about sacrifice and people coming forward, including their limo driver, talking about how obsessed they are with Aleister Crowley, which by definition, anybody out there obsessed with Aleister Crowley, you look at the Beatles, you look at Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page buying the home of Aleister Crowley. Okay, Aleister Crowley's teachings, I've read it in a video recently, openly talk about human sacrifice, okay? So that would mean that these people, if I was reading Jeffrey Dahmer's biography, it'd be one thing if somebody's reading a biography or seeing it. It'd be another thing if I was like, hey, I'm really studying how Jeffrey did this. I really want to practice, because Aleister Crowley's teaching satanic rituals, and this is saying, well, they're the black arts into what Crowley was teaching. Well, it's the same as saying, well, you're not reading a biography on Jeffrey Dahmer. You're reading Jeffrey Dahmer giving you a breakdown of all his things that he did and how to do it, right? Wouldn't you say maybe these people are guilty of human sacrifice? Of course people don't want to say that. Of course they don't. Their limo driver can come out and say they were covered in blood. I mean, one of the things he said, it's laughable. One of the things he says is, there's a giant circle with candles and blood all over the place. Oh, yeah, that's perfectly normal. That's what everybody's doing on a weekend, right? And this has happened throughout history. And what's occurred throughout history is that people have risen up and stopped it from happening. But now all the laws and rules are in place to protect these people. And on top of that, the mind control is so thick, which again, you saw that symbol in the video as well, the hypnosis symbol, which is a symbol that goes back to witchcraft as well and rebirth. But the hypnosis is so thick that people out there literally think that all these people are doing is trolling, that these are good people, that there's no way that they're actually performing those types of rituals. And the enemy to them is us. And they've convinced them through these false idols that we are the enemy to humanity. And that's what we have to deal with going forward, because we know that Scripture talks about what's going to happen to all of us. Persecution is to come. So all we could do is try to point out the obvious. Couldn't be more obvious. But really, for people out there, what should be extremely obvious is why this is trending, okay? If you don't want to believe some of the stuff that I say, it's too much for you to grasp, okay, you think this is organically out there, right? Do you know somebody looking for the latest Motley Crue song in 2024? Of course you don't, because nobody's looking for it. Nobody wants it. No one's asking for it. They're forcing it on you, and they're putting it in the trending section because they want you to see it. And they want you to see Dogs of War, because who's the enemy in the video? We're the enemy. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.